NFL. Hey, look, man, I've forgotten all about the parade already. Yeah. Woo! Gardner Johnson, I can't stand him, so I'm trading him for a fifth-round stiff. Hey, that's good. I can't stand the guy. Hey, man, you know how many people could Jimmy Johnson told you numerous times, hey, you got to put up with these kind of guys. You don't win Super Bowls with choir boys. All right. Did I see Zander get heated today a little bit about the Gardner Johnson deal? Hey, the no-holds defense? Shit, I count 4 now. It's like Lindbergh cheese defense. Without further ado, let's bring our boy in, Big J Zander Krause.
What's up, Big Sills?
How you doing with the big moves?
Oh, baby. We got some stuff to talk about today, baby. Look, big trade today, man. My initial reaction is kind of more like you. I mean, you took a blowtorch to this defense. Now, I'm not as doom and gloom where I'm going to sit here and say the final product's going to stink. But right now, you got rid of a lot of guys on that defense, undoubtedly.
Good guys.
Good guys. Good players on that defense. So what are you going to do? Here's what I will say, though, about replacing him. I'm more worried about replacing the toughness and the grit and the physicality and the mindset and also the playmaking ability of that player. I think we can get a guy who can cover. I mean, let's be real here. I like CJ Gardner-Johnson, but he wasn't – this isn't Ed Reed. This wasn't Brian Dawkins. I mean, he got beat a lot in coverage. There was moments we gave up touchdowns with him. So I think you can improve on it. But how do you bring those intangibles to the defense that I felt he brought in 22 and in 24, the 2 years that the team went to the Super Bowl and had a top defense in the NFL? How do you replace that? You don't just replace that by getting a good, talented player. That's something that comes from within, and I think he brought that, and it'll be interesting to see how they replace that. But I'm not feeling as doom and gloom as you are, but no holes defense, I'm going to put that up here for now. There's a little shelf. Picture a shelf right here. I'm going to put the no holes defense on top of that until we see what Howie does to rebuild.
Here's just the feeling on what I had when I saw all this. And then I told you before, one move doesn't move me. A collective group of moves does. And to me, what I hated about it, now Zander, maybe this is selfish in my part because I love exceptional defense. And when I see a special group of men that came together, like you just said, Gardner Johnson's not the greatest. Well, he did have 12 interceptions in 2 years.
Yeah, it's true. That's why I said playmaking.
And by the way, if you look at his resume, he has played in 3 NFC championships in a row.
Yeah.
And 2 Super Bowls, won 1. I mean, sure, he's a shitty attitude at times, but as I've said before, hey, welcome to the punch. Welcome to the punch bowl. I'm in there with you. I get it. I understand. And to me, it's just a collective group of guys that you had something so special. And it really now, without a doubt, it just shows you the emphasis that they have on having offense, and they think having defense is a luxury. And to them, whether it's the number 1 defense or the number 15 defense, it doesn't really matter to them because they just think it's a luxury that they're going to win Super Bowls the way they do it. Their track record speaks to it too. But you go back to the Jeff Kirk comment of 2 years ago that he made on your program. This is why you get the peaks and valleys sometimes, because you really think you're going to have, to me, it's not about replacing them. It's about replacing the chemistry to be able to execute all the things that they were able to do a year ago. You really think you're going to find 5 new men after 5 men did all those great things with this core young group of guys, and they're going to repeat that? I find that hard to believe. Now, I don't think it's gloom and doom. I don't. I just think you've gone from the number 1 defense to somewhere in the top 13, somewhere in there. I think you're going to land somewhere in there. Is that going to be good enough to get you to the Super Bowl again? We'll see what they do in free agency. Maybe a trade's coming up, and we'll see what they do in draft. But if anybody thinks a day 3 free agent signing And a draft this time with the amount of volume of players you've lost is going to fix. You didn't have this volume to replace a year ago. It's a different game this year. And you won the Super Bowl and you were number one. Last year, you were coming off the 23 season. Now you're coming off the Super Bowl season, and you're acting like you came off the 23rd season by moving pieces around like this. It's kind of remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the one thing I will say. This move is either a disaster or it's a chess piece move. Howie's playing chess, and this is setting up something that's to come. And for me, there's only two ways to slice it, because I don't think you're getting better at safety by slotting Sidney Brown in there. So maybe he has a move up his sleeve for an edge. Maybe, I don't know, Mike apart. I don't know. I'm just saying maybe there's something like that Howie's working toward, where he'll take the hits now, because even talking to John about this, right? There's no advantage football-wise for this trade. This trade made 0 sense for the Eagles football-wise, and you don't see how we get beat in trades like that often. So something was done here for a reason that I think is deeper than football. The team got worse. You traded the starter on defense for a bust first round
and a fifth pick.
But you swapped. You gave back a 6.
No, I got, yeah.
So like you swapped. I mean, you didn't even. So I'm wondering if Howie's going to do something big here on the defense to try and really bring it back, because it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to move on from the player at this point. I mean, you talked about the money, but you don't really need the money this year. You do a little bit, but you didn't need to make. If you made this cut next year and you paid Jalen Carter, I'd be like, yeah, I mean, come on, this is business.
11.5.
But
he makes next year in 26.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, look. It's going to be tough to replace the player. I don't think he was the reason the defense worked. I mean, I won't go that far, but you got to replace the guy. You got to replace what he brought to the defense, the swag, a little bit of the swagger. I like to use the word swagger. Thought he brought a lot of that to the defense. And how do you recoup that? I don't know. Maybe there's a bigger plan in works.
Maybe that Trey Hendrickson deal comes back into focus here. I mean, I'm spitballing here on this thing here with this is maybe that Hendrickson deal, because, dude, if you think you're going to replace with a rookie edge rusher and you're going to land on a guy, the draft after 15, I don't know. I mean, who knows? I don't know. Guy could come out of nowhere and be a Josh Sweat 4th round guy and be a star. Remember something about the two guys that you lost. One was a 4th rounder and the other was a 3rd rounder. So let's put that in perspective. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the top 2 picks for in the land. You know what I mean? I mean, if you get a guy and you get good, you have evaluating of a guy and you got a coach like Vic in there, maybe that's what they're looking. There's clearly more pressure on Vic Fangio now, yes?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're telling him again. You know what? While you say that, though, while there's more pressure, I do wonder if Vic had something to do with this trade. I don't think you trade the starting safety after letting Milton Williams walk, after letting Josh Sweat walk, letting Isaiah Rodgers walk, and Oren Burks walk. I don't think you trade the starting safety without talking to your defensive coordinator. And I wonder if Vic was like, I like the player, but I'll be all right with Adam. I mean, we'll be good. I can prevail there. I wonder. I'm not saying he said that, but you got to think he went to Vic, right? There's no way you think so or no?
No. I think there was conversation, but I think this was more about cap integrity and how they do business.
I don't know. John seemed to think it was about off the field stuff.
Well, no, about CJ, yes, but I don't think I think the Isaiah Rodgers move is stupid. I think the Oren Burks move is stupid because those were not a lot of money. That's not a lot of money for guys who helped you win the Super Bowl. I mean, those guys were instrumental pieces. They were, get this, you can't, those are your attrition pieces. You know what I mean by that? That when you lost somebody and Slay went down, or you put Rodgers in. When you lost Dean, you dropped Oren Burks in there. Those were kind of like
and I'll even give you a better one. We're talking about Moro Jomo. How about replacing Moro Jomo? Because that's another good point. When Milton came out of the game, when Carter rarely did come out of the game, but when he did, when Davis came out of the game, you had reinforcements. How are you going to have, if the reinforcements are moving up to the front line, who's going to be your reinforcements? These are all little things that add up to make a number 1 overall defense. This is a good point by you.
And how about this again, too? You guys want to move Cooper out to the number? You were exceptional in the slot.
I don't
Are
think
you
they're going to
gonna
move him out there.
I don't either now. I think
Yeah.
they're gonna find a corner out there. I think they're good. You know what? It would
Draft.
not shock me in the
Yeah,
top
I'm with
3
you.
rounds if they drop a corner in there in that draft. I really do.
I think round 2. If somebody sits in round 2, they would swoop up and snipe them if they like the player enough. Because the reality is they're going to have to keep getting younger at defense with all these contracts coming up. So they're going to have to hit on a lot of draft picks in the next couple of years. As much as we've enjoyed the last couple of years of draft picks, we need to keep hitting on them, especially at the edge rusher position, because we're about to have crazy payments going to the defensive line. But no, I mean, going back to my point though, real quick on CJ, I do look at this trade and I zoom out a little bit and I'm like, this doesn't make sense from an Eagles perspective. They didn't really need to clear his cap space this season. They could have done it after the season. They didn't really get better. They didn't really need a backup guard. I mean, let's be real. I know Becton's gone, but you have Steen and you have Keegan in the room. You didn't make this trade to go and get,
No.
Kenyon Green. You didn't do that. So what happened? Why would the Eagles willingly lose a trade, barely save on your cap, do something that you could have easily done next year? Why did they do it now? Why did they pull the trigger? Again, it's either chess or their ego got in the way and they couldn't deal with the big personality of the player.
That's it right there.
That's
Number
it.
1.
There's only 2 options in my opinion.
It's Christian Parker and him had many run-ins, from what I was told by a coach on that staff. And I mean by run-ins, it just got to be where he was constantly chirping. He'd chirp in meetings. He would chirp on the sidelines. He would chirp and he would say things on the
too much.
You know what? In the team meetings, I heard that he would be in the team meetings and he would be just chirping at the players in there and kind of undermining some of the stuff that the coach. And from what I understand, Parker had a hard time controlling him, and Vic had to go to him numerous times. Now, this is what I'm being told, that he had but what you wanted to do, and can I tell you who was the guy that fucking calmed it down? It was Nick. It was Nick. They said that Nick was the only guy that would keep him in kind of in the game and kept him focused. Maybe an emotional guy talking to another emotional guy.
Yeah, right. They get each other, yep.
And so
I wonder if Nick is taking this as a little bit of a shot, Hey, man, we're still in charge.
Nick, yeah, well, listen, you know me. I'm not going to throw kudos out to the dude, but I'm just telling you. I was told that Nick, it would get to a point where Vic doesn't have a lot of patience with guys' attitudes. You're either going to fucking play for him or you're not, and you're going to listen. If you listen, you play, and he will coach your pants off. But if you're constantly doing this and you're off on the reservation doing whatever.
Yeah, but that's not a reason to get rid of a guy.
It's not.
No, I get it, though. John's ready to build up.
I don't think Vic wanted him gone.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, John Byrne made a good analogy this morning when we did our instant reaction. He's like, look, there's been way better players than CJ Gardner-Johnson in the NFL who have been let go for off-the-field antics. Look at T.O. Look at all sorts of guys. And they were way better than CJ Gardner-Johnson was. So it does happen all the time. But while that's true, I think I also can hold an opinion that this is because the fucking suits in the front office can't handle a big personality, a big alpha dude who doesn't want to be told what to do, who's going to bark, who's going to have an attitude, all those things. And I can relate to all those things. I understand all of those things. But guys in suits, guys who stroke checks, guys who sign contracts don't give a shit about that. And they'll flex their proverbial power if you make them feel uncomfortable. Maybe that's not what's happening here. It might not be. It really might not be. But I do see this sometimes, and I do wonder, like, big personality dudes, dude, they make people – Sills, you make people uncomfortable with your personality. You get that. You walk in and the radio producer's like, oh, don't say this, don't say that. No, you deal with it all the time. And you're like, dude, you don't get it. You don't get it. I could see that with that. I'm not saying, again, I'm speculating. I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm just saying CJ does have that personality where he rubs it off on people, and you're either going to like it or you're not going to like it.
I'm going to make the point again to you. I played with Jimmy. He had personalities in Dallas with the Cowboys, and he had them obviously with us at UM and how he handled that stuff. He didn't care that you had a fat mouth or you spoke and you said shit. As long as you produced, I think there's a talent to that kind of coaching that as long as you play, you're going to produce. You can do that shit. You know, Charles Haley, he was the biggest asshole going. He won 5 Super Bowls. Jimmy had to coach him, had 3 Super Bowls with him. Okay. He was very difficult to deal with, but you have to do special coddling to that kind of personality, especially the ones that produce for you. I don't think the Eagles wanted to put that effort in with him. I mean, you had 2 years remaining. You see people talking about Justin Simmons. Why would you go after an $8 million safety when you just let loose of an $8 million safety? That would tell you right there. If they hire a free agent safety, Zander, and they pay him the same money, they'll tell you right there they hated the kid.
Yeah, you're probably right. Remember, they did spend that 3rd-round draft pick on Sidney Brown.
Dude, you know, Sidney Brown, why are they all over this with Keely Ringo and Sidney Brown? Why are they all over that? Why do they think those guys are just going to step in and all of a sudden they're going to be production guys just like that?
You want to know why?
Yeah.
Look at our defense last year, Sills. Nolan Smith, he was going to be shitty. Jordan Davis, again, now he wasn't a big impact, but go all down the defense. Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, rookie players. Nakobe Dean, a castaway. Nobody thought he was going to be worth a shit. Zach Baum wasn't supposed to be shit. Reed Blankenship, an undrafted guy. Like, I'm not saying that you can't, but that's where the belief comes from. You're asking me why people believe in it. Well, we see it all the time. We see it all the time. So you draft a guy out of Georgia. He's got pedigree. He's been working with these coaches. He's been working with this defense. People will say, I can take 2 roads. I can doubt him or I can believe in the player. And many fans are going to go down the belief route. That's okay. They can do that. But I'm a little bit more of a realist pessimist. They haven't done it yet. But I will say I'm a little bit optimistic that some of these young guys are going to be better than we think. I'm not saying you're wrong where
like who?
They haven't done anything, but
you're not. Nobody's wrong here on Marshall.
I think Keely Ringo could be good. And you know why? Because I watched them dominate the SEC at the highest level week in and week out. I know college is different, but again, eventually, could that skill set translate? I could see it translating. I look at Sidney Brown. I haven't seen it yet, but the dude does have elite physical traits. He does fly all over the field. He is phenomenal on special teams. Maybe if he did get a chance to go in this defense, he would be a pretty good playmaker. We don't know that for sure. Again, you're hoping, but which isn't a good strategy.
Well,
but
no.
you know,
but let me go to your point to validate what you're saying here. You know, Ringo, I think, is 22.
Yes, he is. He's super young, dude.
Okay.
Super young.
Do you understand that the guy in Washington is 25 years old? Jaden Daniels.
Jaden.
This guy's been in the league 2 years already, and he's only 22 years old. I was still in college when I was 20. So, I mean, you really don't know what it is. And it's true. And I'll say this about Sidney Brown. Who was he recruited by? He was recruited by Lovie Smith. Lovie built that Tampa defense with Sapp and them guys with Tony Dungy. And guess what? The guy, what's his name? Witherspoon, who's up in Seattle, was part of that secondary as well. So, I mean, when you have a guy like that, spot talent, you have to think those guys know what those guys have seen good players, bad players, underachieving players, players who don't belong in the league. Those guys have seen it all like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they kind of know what they're looking at. So you know what I mean? I mean, you might be right because Vic turned guys who were bust 23 into really good football players. But I want to read this to you here. Moro Ajobo, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Zach Bond. I'm going to say the first game of the year. Trotter. Now, this is as of March 11th. Bryce Huff, Quinyon Mitchell, Sidney Brown, Reed Blankenship, Keely Ringo, and Cooper DeJean. That's your defense compared to what your defense was, the number 1 ranked defense a year ago. How do you feel about that defense?
Yeah,
not
worse.
Not with the draft yet, and not with some free agent moves yet.
Yeah, March 11th, it's worse. I mean, but here's the thing, you've only lost. You haven't added anything yet. So let's see what they add. Like I said, maybe they have something up their sleeve, but there's no doubt it's worse. I mean, there's no doubt that if the season started today, that we wouldn't be repeating as the number one defense. By the way, there's also a little bit of it. Like, you'll probably regress anyway.
Yeah.
Because most teams can't repeat as the number one defense. The odds are tough to be able to do that. So there's going to be probably a regression anyway. Gubby, we did get your super brother. We'll read him right at the end of our segment. All right, man. All super chats will be read. So thanks all you guys though for the great support today. But defense not in a good spot. But it's March 11th, Sills. And I don't want to pick on you, but both you and I both had plenty of thoughts last March, which turned out to be not true. So again, I get it. There's a take. You're not wrong. That blowtorch went on. Isaiah gone.
Were you shocked how extensive it was? With the amount, with the volume of players.
I wasn't shocked until this move. This was the first move I was shocked. This is the first move I was like, okay, now you're making some gambles. Like, now you're going a little further than you needed to go, And again, it's either going to be the right move or it's going to be the wrong move. There's a world that exists, by the way, where this could be the right move in terms of you're coming off a Super Bowl. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is move on from players after a Super Bowl like that. Now, you have to move on from the right players. And by the way, a lot of people are pointing to 22. After the 22 season, Sills, when we went to the Super Bowl and we lost, you lost TJ Edwards. You lost Kaiser White. You lost Javon Hargrave. You lost CJ Gardner-Johnson. You lost some of those guys in 22. The difference here is stability at the coordinator and further the position coaches. Clint Hurd is back. Christian Parker's back. All your defensive coaches are back.
Which
so
is great.
That's the difference. And then the other difference can be, who do you restock with? Right? In 23, you didn't restock with the right guys. Nicholas Morrow didn't cut it. Right? So What are they going to restock with this year? But I do think it's different than 22 because of the coaches.
I want to read something to you here. And I was told this early this morning. And I wrote Big Sil's Eagle Source, and I got this on my ex. Howie and Lori got into it the other day, and you could hear Howie in the office, and he said Howie was shouting. He was tired of the players and their fucking podcasts and the radio shows and stuff getting into the media on what we're trying to accomplish behind the locker room. Enough is enough. Lori wasn't happy about it either, and he left it up to Howie to make the decision on where he was going to go. How much of that do you think is true?
Wouldn't surprise me if that was true. Wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't, but wouldn't surprise me if that was true. I mean, look, people, that's a reality. Like, people think this stuff doesn't happen, or this stuff happens, and the Eagles organization doesn't think about any of it. Like, that's the perfect world where people are like, this is social media. Nobody cares about it. They do. They look at it. Big Dom's.
Look what he did to Brandon Graham when he was doing his radio show. He yanked him right off the air.
Big Dom there's a reason that he does what he does. Yeah, exactly. Brian Bidding, the perfect comment. This is exactly what I was going to say before I saw this comment. You could thank Jason Kelsey, because that podcast culture is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. He just signed a $100 million deal. People are looking at that like, boy, all I have to do is be entertaining on a microphone and I can get a $100 million deal because I played in the NFL. That's going to happen more and more and more. So thank Jason Kelsey for that. But wouldn't surprise me if that report was true. And it wouldn't surprise me about, like I said earlier, I don't think most GMs like the big controversial player, the guy that has that fuck you alpha dog type of mentality, that you're not going to tell me what to do. Most guys don't like that, especially guys who are, in charge. So wouldn't surprise me, but I won't speculate on it. CJ was, by the way, on your show. CJ was doing speaking of it, a podcast. He was I don't know if he was live streaming or something, but he responded to the trade and just said, I wish everybody luck over there. Darius,
I loved his exit this time.
Yeah, his exit was fine. So I don't know. I don't dislike CJ Gardner-Johnson. I've grown to like him for what he is. I think there's a room for that. But for whatever reason, they wanted to move on a year early. Something happened.
Oh, yeah. No, they got tired of it.
Something happened or something's coming.
they got tired of him. They got tired of him. And they got
Let's be
tired.
real. We got fleeced on the trade. You sent a guy with 6 picks.
Gardner Johnson's a good player, man. Yeah.
Dude, you sent a guy with 6 picks who was a top 20 safety in the NFL, maybe higher, depending on who you talk to. And we got a perennial bust first-round pick.
Hey, man, Beckham was a perennial bust.
I know. I'm not saying he can't be something. I'm talking about the trade right now, though.
Yeah.
You traded a starter safety on the number one.
And you didn't trade anything for Beckham. He was a free agent.
Exactly. You got beat in the trade. Why? Why were the Eagles willing to get destroyed in this trade?
It's like a Reddick move. It's like
Worse.
when they moved
you
off
got a
of
third
Reddick.
for Reddick, bro. You got a third for Reddick. I think this is way worse. Dude, you basically sent him for a 6th, 7th round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, you traded him for a castaway. Again, by the way, I put out a tweet. I'm higher on Kenyon Green than most. I watched him at Texas A&M when he played there. I liked him in college. He has struggled immensely in the pros, but he's great in run run fits. He's super physical.
I don't hate him.
Jeff Stoutland, guys. So I actually don't mind the player we got back, but objectively speaking, we got.
Yeah, but I don't hate the guy.
No, I don't hate him. I don't hate him either. I don't care that he's a bust. But
Chicago's offering Becton $11 million a year, $11.5 million a year, and they want to sign him to a 3-year contract or something. By the way, we'll read all supers at the end of the show or at the end of the segment. Excuse me. Chicago, dude. I think Chicago. I wrote these teams down here. Do you agree? 10 teams. And one thing before I name the teams, you know what I don't like about the whole offseason so far. Instead of expanding your lead on the other teams in the NFC, you move them closer to you. Now, look, I'm not telling you or anybody that Washington is like right next. That's Mark Holmes bullshit. I'm not doing that. And the gap is still wide with some of these teams in the NFC, but you're moving the sticks and the yardsticks closer to you when you do things like this. It just, you had a sensational lead on them with this. Now you kind of closed the gap.
I don't agree.
I think the Rams got better.
Rams got better. Some teams closed the gap, but just because you go out on March 10th of free agency and you pick up a bunch of names and you make news on March 10th, that doesn't mean your team got better. Your team got more expensive. That doesn't mean your team. Look at what we signed last year. We could have said to somebody in the offseason as an Eagle fan, hey, we got better at the edge. We signed a bust. He did shit for our football team. In fact, we couldn't find ways to bench him late in the year. We were trying to find ways to get him off the field.
You had to healthy scratch him in the Super Bowl.
With injuries all over the defensive line. So March 11th, we didn't make headlines. March 11th, it looks like we got worse. Let's see. Like, you told me the Commanders got closer. Bobby Wagner's a year older.
Bro, I said they got closer, but not the gap is still wide. That's what I said. Kinlaw.
They added.
Bro, I'm not telling you they're in the room with them. I'm telling you they got closer, but that gap is still wide.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just trying to give some light to people on just because the Eagles seemingly got worse right now doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's on our heels. Like, I'm looking at what the Commanders did. They signed John Bates and Zach Ertz. Let's be real. I mean, re-signing those guys doesn't make you closer to the Eagles. Picking up Deebo Samuel's a solid deal for a 5th, but he's coming off his worst NFL season since he came into the league and really looked like a shell of himself last year. Javon Kinlaw is overrated. And by the way, you let Jonathan Allen walk for $5 million more than you paid Javon Kinlaw, who's not half the player. So I don't like
20 a year in Minnesota too.
I know.
20 a year.
So, like, again, I think the Tunsil move was good, but I don't really think the Commanders got that much better, is my point. I think they probably got a little better, but I don't think they got, like, that much better. I think the Tunsil move was the best move they made.
I think Chicago and L.A. got better.
Chicago got better 1,000%, and L.A. got better 1,000%. And L.A. is probably the more concerning team there because L.A. was within an earshot of you in a playoff game. So that's a team that could be there late in the year. Chicago, we still have to sit. You know, Chicago, here's the funny part about Chicago. They could get worlds better and get closer to the Eagles, and they're still a light years away because they finish 7-10 instead of 5-12. So let's see what happens in Chicago. But the Rams are more
Here's
serious
the
threat.
10 teams I wrote down. 10, I got Seattle. 9, I got Arizona. 8, I got Minnesota. Who's their quarterback? JJ McCarthy? Great.
Yeah.
I got the Bucks at 7. I got Chicago at 6 because they're not in the top 5, like you said.
I got Bucks higher than that, man. I like what the Bucks did this free agency.
I got Chicago 6 because I want to see it, you know. I got Green Bay 5. I got Washington 4. I got the Rams 3. You know the quietest team in the NFC? The Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are looking like this. Hey, we just got to be healthy. Let it
but
get
they got
guys.
a lot of change on coaching, man.
Okay, true. But how did that work out last year when you made all those changes on your staff, when you got a new staff in there, new coordinators too? You won the Super Bowl.
It worked for us.
I think that to me, with Dan Campbell and that organization and Brad Holmes, I think they've done some nice things there.
I agree.
Okay. But I do think that's a factor.
Well, look,
but I still think their roster fully healthy is awful good.
It also took us a year, though, Sills.
Yeah.
After 22, we lost Steichen and we lost Gannon. It took us a year of shitty coaching to find the right coaches. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen with Detroit. I'm just saying I'm not sure that they've mastered the art of replacing a guy like Ben Johnson. You know, it's not that easy to do. Now, we'll see what ends up happening. But I like your top 10. Who are your top 5 one more time for me?
Philly, Detroit, the Rams, Washington, Green Bay.
Philly, Detroit, Washington, Rams, Green Bay. I'd probably go Philly, Detroit, Rams, Washington, Green Bay. See, here's the problem. I want to put Vikings at 5 because I like what they've done, but I can't with the quarterback. They've done everything right outside the quarterback.
And that's going to hold you back.
Yeah, but if the quarterback, what if the quarterback's good?
Okay, what if? Here we are. What if? I mean, okay, we're in the what if conversation.
Well, they did spend a first-round pick on him. They got to see eventually.
Dude, the number one thing is you've got to look. I can handle what if at left defensive end for Moro Jomo. I can't handle what if at quarterback.
That's true, but
last
year at this time was a what if on Jaden Daniels. So,
right? Listen, I mean, dude. Hey, you bring something up now with money here. You know that damn Jordan Davis deal, that $8 million, $9 million deal. If they want to cut something like that,
right?
Well, what I'm seeing with the money and how much money's being spent, I'm not so sure. I'm warming up to that. I'm warming up to extending him. I am.
Well, because you just saw the deals that came down for some of these people.
Yeah.
Like, boy, $10 million for a guy that's pretty good, actually. I mean, he's not an every down guy, but he's good in his role. Like, yeah, you're probably right.
Plus, it's a 1-year extension. Then you give yourself a year to kind of see what he does the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And if the guy pans out, then you come to him early and you give him a nice 3-year contract, you know? Hey, by the way, Milton Williams will not fulfill that contract. After what I heard Howard Balzer saying, he's not going to fulfill the full 3 years up there in New England. No way. They'll jump out of that after 2.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, do you agree with my take on this one? I agree that you and Howard and all those guys say, hey, those guys should be writing checks, sweating, what's his name, to Jalen Carter. But don't you agree? So you think backups are going to limit the double teams on Jalen Carter or free agents? Do you really believe that you're going to get more or less double teams and triple teams on Jalen Carter with guys who are second and third team dudes on your team and free agents? I don't believe that.
That's why I talked about this with you yesterday, though. Even if you want to get Jordan Davis on a discounted deal, he's going to have to be able to play some 3 technique, because if he can't, he's literally becoming more obsolete because he's no longer helping Jalen Carter or any of the rest of the defensive line get off blocks and get to the quarterback. So I think he's going to have to play a little bit of 3 technique skills. I really do. I mean, if you're telling me anytime you go to a 4-man front, you can't have Jordan Davis on the field, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. I'd rather pay $10 million to a different depth piece that can play both, or that is more capable and more versatile. I don't know. I mean, maybe Vic is fine with that, but I would think he would have to play a little bit more 3 tech.
I got two more here for you before we read the live chats here. Where have you, and I'm going to keep asking you this question. Have your sticks moved and the chains moved for you at that 32 pick? Edge, DT, safety, tight end.
Edge.
Still edge, not moved off.
Edge. You need two bodies at edge, even if you need two bodies at edge, minimum. So are we drafting, are we signing somebody in free agency day 2, 3, 4, maybe? Possibly. What type of impact? Maybe an Aziz Ojulari, a guy like that, a younger guy that's a little bit cheaper, potentially. And then you still need another one. And in my estimation, when you look forward at what this team is going to have to pay in the coming years, the most valuable first-round pick is an edge, because an edge that plays great is worth more, and you're getting a bigger value in that contract than if you draft a safety and he plays like the greatest safety in the world. You're still not saving as much money as if you get an edge that's competent and a contributor. So that's why I think they're going edge, because they have to. This is a roster crunch a little bit right now, and if they play it the right way, they'll be okay. But I think they're going edge round 1 for sure. Okay, now or DT I think would be possible.
That's edge. I'm edge DT. I haven't changed off those two. I still want to see what they do in free agency here. Now listen, I'm going to bring this up to you, and I've been talking to my friend in New England and the newspaper people up there, Dan Shaughnessy, in this. The New England Patriots want to get out of that 4th pick of the draft. And boy, I mean, Zander, the conversations and the storylines on wanting to try to acquire A.J. Brown are daily up there. Radio, talk radio, WEI, everywhere is about this move. And here, get this. Supposedly, the Patriots have been in contact with 3 teams, the Eagles one of them. How about the Eagles? They trade A.J. to New England for the 4th pick. You get Abdul Carter. You draft him there. You get multiple ones for him because A.J. would demand that, and 2s, and you're filling holes with rookie contracts where you could go and get yourself an edge and a DT with 2 first-round picks. You could slay holes on your football team using one player who's a highly expensive guy who, again, is going to be how old this coming year? 30?
AJ? No.
He's
AJ's
not 30?
No. I think he's like
30 I thought he was 30 years old.
He's 27. He'll be 28 at the end of June, so he'll be going into the year at 28. So we'll have
That's not awful. That's
young.
Okay, I mean, I don't. Hey, after seeing the shit that's gone on this offseason, I don't think anything is under the realm of possibility of not happening.
I agree with that.
I think that is something that is highly unlikely, but would you entertain going up there at 4? Or how about this? You trade that pick to the Cowboys for Michael Parsons.
This is a tough one. I think the thought is fair. I'll say that. All right. I don't think you're off base on the thought, because you look at this team and, like people have talked about, we're paying Jalen Carter $40 million next year.
That's
so
coming.
Something has to give. Now, I like to think that the AJ thing isn't coming yet. I think it will inevitably come one day. There will be a day when AJ's probably gone from this football team, because you just have to. It's just business. But I'm not sold on it. I'll tell you why. I'm not really that sold that Abdul Carter is going to be I think he's going to be good. I'm not sold he's going to be like the next coming of Myles Garrett or even the next coming of Michael Parsons, to be honest with you. So I'm not really sold on that regard. I think the Michael Parsons thing is honestly a little bit more interesting. But what type of contract is he going to getting? Is that even something that works with the way these contracts are going right now? Maybe because you would free up from AJ, but you're not getting any cap relief this year. That contract's tough to get out of at this point. So I'm going to say no, Sills, because, these paper trades, some of them sound great, and you're right. They didn't pass the ball a lot last year. We can keep our running game intact, keep the offense good. Jalen will still get 2,900 passing yards, and you can improve that defense. In theory, it sounds right, but what type of impact does that type of move have on the camaraderie of your locker room, on the togetherness of your locker room, on the buy-in of your players, that you're trying to do what's best for the football team, whether it works or not? What type of perception do you have in the locker room with the front office and how it relates to the players? I'm sorry.
Well, if you were worried about chemistry, you blew up the defense.
Yeah,
You blew up the defense. You blew up the defense's chemistry.
No, because here's why. Here's why you're wrong.
Who's the leader on that defense emotionally last year on that team?
No. Here's a better question. Who is the core of the defense? You didn't get rid of any of them, in my opinion.
To me, the leaders on that team last year were Carter and Bond.
Right, and both of them are back. And Slay, you could argue, yes.
Okay, and Gardner Johnson. Two of your leaders are and I would put Reed in there because if Vic said that too, I believe that.
So all of those guys are returning. Now, if you go to the offensive side of the ball, A.J. Brown is a core piece. So I think blowing that up just doesn't make sense to me. Look, I know there's change at the defense, but me and John talked about this extensively. One of the reasons they moved on from CJ is because they identified very quickly who are the core pieces we want here for the future. Who are people we are going to go to extended lengths to keep in Philly? Jalen Carter, Vaughn, Nolan, Cooper, Quinion.
How do you not look at a guy who's 27 years old, has been to 3 straight NFC titles and 2 Super Bowls with you and won one, and not think he's part of your future?
It's the NFL.
No,
can I ask you this?
Wow.
And I'm not trying to pick on CJ, but dude, 5 teams in 5 years. 4. It might be 4. It's 4. Saints, Eagles, Lions, Eagles. And all moved on from him after 1 year.
Texans.
Now he's with the Texans. So, I'm not even trying to pick on the guy because I kind of like the mentality and stuff.
Great point.
At what point
you're so loved in the locker room, man. You're in one place forever.
Yeah. So there's pros and cons of the player, and I do think there is some sort of that.
Oh, that is a great take. It's a great take. 4 teams in 5 years. Fuck.
Dude, his last 4 years have been one and done. Last 3. Man. 4 years ago, the Saints moved off of him.
Awful productive.
Yeah. Productive.
12 interceptions the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Zander. I mean, you're telling me you can't eat a little shit for a guy who's real good?
I'm more with you in this regard. Sack up and deal with the player. The guy can produce.
Yeah.
You don't win Super Bowls with choir boys. I mean, if you want choir boys, then go into a different line of work.
That's right.
I'm with you on that regard. I'm just saying I think that's probably the rationale.
Yeah, it is totally. Because I think they moved off of Reddick because of that bullshit.
And I don't think they were wrong on him.
No. But hey, I don't think Reddick was that far out of the room because he just signed a 1-year deal, not playing anything and being an asshole. Hey, Hassan Reddick was probably the biggest asshole in the entire league last year, and he still just signed a deal for 14 annually.
Yeah, it's true.
That shows you how good the player is.
He could have played out his final deal at $14 million, and then probably got $25 million a year.
After
Milton Williams just got $26 million a year.
He completely outplayed his hand here with the market.
Yeah.
Let's read these supers here. Let's read these supers.
Appreciate everybody, by the way. Big viewership today, man. Thanks, everybody. Matt Dio says, CJ was injured 2 of 3 years. It's fair. He was injured the first year with us. Remember, he missed 5 games.
He missed 5 games?
13 games.
Yep.
He was good this year, though, Dio.
He missed a ton of games in Detroit. He sure did. He came back for the playoffs.
Yeah, remember he missed from week 2 on. He missed he got hurt in 2 or 3, week 2 or 3.
Yep.
Dirty D says, didn't we get Lewis Seen? He played safety at Georgia and was great. He was great at Georgia. Hasn't done much in the pros, but yes, he is on the roster and he will be an Eagle next year.
I'll leave that for you to comment on. Okay.
He was drafted decently. I think he's a guy that could be something, but you're right, he hasn't been. Bearded Willie, thank you, Bearded. He says, if it wasn't about personality, then how much money did we actually save? We couldn't even re-sign Burks for $2 million a year right now. We don't even know who's playing next to Bond for first half of the season.
Trotter, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. The Eagles aren't doing it because they can't. They're doing it because they don't want to.
Yes.
That's not the position the franchise is in. They're never going to be in a position, and I say that emphatically, unlike other teams, the Eagles are never going to be the Saints in cap hell. That's not how they operate. You know what? Personally, I think the Eagles would rather be a 5-win team than be in cap hell. than sit there and say that they will have their cap upside down. They will never do that. They'll look at production, bad coaching for the 5 wins, and they'll rectify it the following year. But you know what they won't do? They will not have cap hell. That's not what that franchise is. I think they're making these moves with strategic things in mind. A trade next year with Carter. They're very high on their young players. See, they've probably got a lot of Zander in them on what Zander's talking about with the younger players. They really believe in investing in the young guys. I'll tell you something else too, Zander. I really believe that they really think that they have a really great coaching staff on defense, that they think that they got those coaches can do exactly like Bobby King and those guys and Clint Hurt. All those guys are potential free defensive coordinators in other places. They got a great defensive coaching staff this year. It's probably the best defensive coaching staff they've had, I would say, since you had that 17 Super Bowl.
No doubt. I think 100%. I think you're spot on with that. Good stuff. Bearded Willie, here's what I would say back to you, Bearded Willie. If it wasn't about personality, then how much money do we actually save? I'm going to go ahead and say, Bearded Willie, this was more about personality than the money.
It is.
Future money, yes, but money this year. Christopher Michael, what's up, Christopher? Hey, guys, been watching for a while, but first time commenting. Love that, man. Appreciate you for watching.
Thank you,
because I get a lot of these messages of people who say, I watch you every day. I just don't comment in the chat. So for all the people who don't comment, we hear you and we appreciate you. Hey, guys, been watching a while, but first time commenting. I was concerned about the defensive side before trading CJ. I don't know what we're doing, but Howie better have a hell of a plan in place. I'm with you, Christopher.
Well, Christopher, listen, here's what I always have to go back to. 7 years, 3 Super Bowl appearances, and 2 wins. 4 straight years of being in the playoffs. You have to condition your mind, even though here on March 11th, it looks like they took a blowtorch, and they did. Again, my position is not that he can't do it again. My position is that I saw something special. That was the most accomplished defense in Philadelphia Eagle history, and it just looks like a blowtorch got taken to it.
Yeah.
I mean, Zander, that's more my position. I'm not saying he can't
you're not
do
wrong.
it.
Anybody that says you're wrong, I think is crazy. I mean, look, if you can be confident we're going to replace him, that's fine. You're allowed that as a fan. You can think that. But to sit here and say Sileo is wrong, they got rid of every potential free agent defense is gone except for Bond, and then they traded away another guy they could have kept. I mean, Sileo's not wrong.
And the 2 guys that helped you guys get to the Super Bowl were easy signs in Oren Burks and Isaiah. Dude, the Isaiah, who's going to, by the way, Zander, so whoever they put at corner, who's going to take the role of Rodgers as your swing corner, let alone fill your corner spot? So if you're going to throw Keely Ringo out there, who's your swing corner? Let's just say, well, for shits and giggles today, March 11th, you've got him there now. You tell me, who's your swing corner then that take the Isaiah Rodgers role?
All right, so here's something that just came out. Well, it's a good question, and I don't right now. I don't know who that is. All right, I would imagine it would be Eli Ricks. Would be my assumption. All right, now I just saw something that came out from the Spot Track guy. He tweeted out the Texans agreed to pay down $1.5 million of Kenyon Green's salary this year. The Eagles will now take on $1.38 million cap and cash hit for 2025. So that's now down from 2.8 to 1.5 on Kenyon Green. So he's very, very, very cheap. The Eagles, as it stands right now, looks like they went down 2.6 million in cap space with this move.
Okay. Wow.
So Spotrac tweeted out the Eagles took on $4.7 million of CJ Gardner's signing bonus. The rest of the proration belongs to future option bonuses that transfer to Houston. So he's basically saying the Eagles gained 0 cap space from this. Now, he could be wrong. Spotrac's not perfect, but
you got rid of the player because you hated him.
It's not money.
It's not money.
You gained nothing. Zane says $8.5 million.
You gained nothing. You gained nothing by it, except losing a good player and gaining a marginal player.
Yeah, that's why I said something must have happened. Right? I mean, he rubbed somebody the wrong way. Somebody who has decision-making abilities in the organization.
I told you, man, it was the constant chirping in the building.
Yeah.
remember, he don't have a filter, dude. He chirps
know
at
he
his
doesn't.
coaches.
I know he doesn't. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Here we go. We got a couple more supers. Gubby says, "What's up, Gubby?" Gubby messaged me the other day and said, "I'm a trucker and I love you guys. I'm going to start commenting more." So, Gubby, appreciate you being here, man. He says the year of youth evaluations, they need field time.
That's true. That's true. They need playing time
too, though, man.
They need playing time. Okay.
Last year was the same thing, though, so you better keep hitting because your odds go down more and more as you continue to rely on this. So you're not wrong, Gubby, but they better have the good players in place. Jeff Fox comes in. What's up, Jeff? CJ was a liability in the red zone. I read that he gave up 13 touchdowns to tight ends. Don't know if that's true. It wasn't 13, but he did give up. I told Sileo, I was rewatching the season. He was definitely one of the guys that got beat in coverage a lot. It is true. That's why I said at the start of the segment, we didn't lose Ed Reed.
When you play too high safety, the position you're most vulnerable at is safety, not corner. It's at the safety position. Why? Because you're in the middle of the field and you're too deep. So remember that, especially when you get in red zone and you don't have that latitude of playing too deep. Remember something, Zander. When you're on a 10-yard line and you're playing too deep zone, you can't. The back of the end zone stops you from playing it. So the cornerback is not the guy who's the one who's in the main target. It's really the safety position. That's why you saw Reed sometimes play so good, and then sometimes he would be a little bit off tilt there a little bit. So, okay.
Oh, we got more. Give me a sec. Sorry. Blaine Miner. What's up, Blaine? I'm heartbroken over this team. I fell in love with a hooker. LMAO. How you doing?
Hey, Blaine.
I'm in love with a stripper.
Hey, Blaine. It's March 11th. I'm not saying I don't like the fact you had the most accomplished defense in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles, and you just threw a grenade to it. Okay? That's what I'm gonna miss.
Yeah. Who knows that
really,
song?
it's what it is.
Sills, you know that T-Pain song? I'm in love with a stripper. She riding that pole. I love it, Blaine. Good stuff. Johnny says, Zander was pissed earlier. Yeah, I was. I didn't know what the hell we were doing or why we were doing it. Better yet.
Now that he found out about no money, I wouldn't imagine it's better.
Apparently there is like 8.5. I guess there's 8.5 million of cash savings. I don't know what that means in terms of the cap. Other than does that mean the owner doesn't have to stroke that check this year?
Yeah, that's exact. And the 11.5 next year.
Yeah, so maybe the owner came in and was like, I don't want to pay CJ that cash, all right?
Oh, wait a minute here. I'm going to show you something here, dude. They didn't add any money to the defense. They just moved money around because the majority and the bulk of that money of the Slay cutting and the Bradbury cutting and moving on from Gardner Johnson paid Zach Bond's deal. Once again, here we are, dollar shopping again over there at the dollar store instead of being at Neiman Marcus like you are on the offensive side. Man, boy, they're asking Vic to take that chicken shit again and make that chicken soup. Oh, yes, shit. Man. Hey, work your magic on this guy. All right. Hey, it's true. Zach Bond was a nobody. He was a 25th rated free agent linebacker last year. Just put that in perspective. Just, I get it. You really think you're going to land on another guy who comes and floats in from nowhere? Holy shit, look at this.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I want to see that, man.
We'll see what happens.
I'll tell you what, if Vic does that again, I am going to petition for him to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame while he's an active DC. If that guy turns that freaking thing into Morojomo turns into a
come on, don't go that far. He's still got a lot of good players.
Wait a minute here. Are you trying to tell me Morojomo? Okay, so here, what I don't get about what fans are saying is that, hey, I think this kid Ojomo could take over for Milton Williams. Okay. So who takes over for Morojomo and his rotating and who he was? And by the way, so you're telling me that Ojomo and Carter were the two better, Ojomo and Williams were the two better players than Jordan Davis, and you're keeping Jordan Davis? Why? If you're telling me that Ojomo can replace Williams, why are you keeping the lesser player than Davis?
I don't know if he's lesser. It's a different role.
Zander, Milton can play the nose too. He showed you he could. I'm telling you. Hey, let me throw this at you. What's a tougher repeat? What's a tougher replace? Sweat, Williams, Slay, or CJ?
Gotta be Sweat, right?
Sweat.
Gotta be.
40 sacks in 5 years he gave you.
And he's an edge.
Yep.
We need production off the edge. If we don't get production off the edge, we're screwed. Well, here we go. Wait, 2 more super chats, and then I'll get out of here.
Good.
James says, what's up, James? If AJ goes to the Pats, you have to get back Gonzalez along with picks because the picks are unknown, parentheses, not proven. AJ's not going to the Pats.
I'm not saying.
Wait. You want to hear something hilarious? We're all upset maybe a little bit. Maybe not everybody, but most of us are upset that CJ Gardner-Johnson was traded today. The New England Patriots a week ago, the fans were tweeting out graphics of AJ Brown in a Patriots jersey and DK Metcalf in a Patriots jersey. They ended up with Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins. That's what they thought they were getting, DK and AJ, and they ended up with Mac Hollins.
I think we found a more delusional fan base than what we talk to sometimes. At least you win.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I actually do like Drake May. JD3. CJ was a head case. Gee, thank God he plays football and not working in HR. Almost like Draymond Green helped Golden State. Almost like Rodman has 5 rings. Great take, JD.
Rodman does have 5 rings.
Stop letting suits get rid of dudes because they're alphas. Come on, man.
Dude, Rodman's the greatest under 7-foot rebounder in the history of the NBA. You don't want that on your team, and he was a 3-time defensive player of the year. I mean, come on.
Ooh. Mike, is that you in your profile picture? Or are you a boxer? That's a badass photo if that's you. It probably not.
I think that's Ali.
Is it?
Yeah, I think that's Ali.
See, all this work I do on my computer, I went to the doctor. They're like, bro, your eyes are shot. Your eyes are.
I think that's Ali in the thing there, and I think that's Angelo behind him.
Well, you would know better than me. I can't even
Yeah,
say it. With no defense, we'll have to rely on the pass game to keep us in games.
With no defense. Hey, your defense won the Super Bowl for you last year.
Everybody's ripping me about that. That's a very rippable offense, but I'm not going to lie to you. I could not see what that meant at all, or who that was at all.
Hey, your defense won that. Your defense carried your offense for the majority of the season. Would you not agree?
No. 2,500 yards.
Oh, excuse me. I meant your passing. So how about this? Do you think you could be 29th in passing this year with the 16th ranked defense and win the Super Bowl?
16th ranked defense. You think losing CJ Gardner-Johnson drops you 16?
No, I think losing 5 starters does.
No, it doesn't, because you have Jalen Carter coming back, Nolan Smith coming back, Quinton and Cooper coming back, Zach Vaughn and N'Kobe coming back, and Ed Reed Blankenship coming back.
Yeah, right. Okay, 5 starters off your defense, and you're ready to rock. Let's go, baby.
You got to be kidding me.
Thought I was in a firing squad this morning.
With what?
With the amount of guys who got picked off. Bang! Milton Williams, I saw you over there standing next to the rock. Hang over there. Hang on. There you're picking his head out. Boom! There's Josh Sweat. I just busted his ass like a watermelon head. Bang! Over there. Look at that. I just knocked that guy off like he is a tin can over there. Who's that? That's CJ. How you doing? Come on there, brother.
So CJ talked on his podcast or whatever it was, and he said, I thought it was April Fool's. CJ Gardner-Johnson thought Howie Roseman and the Eagles were joking about trading him. CJ says there's no bad blood. He says it was explained to him the Eagles had to pay their younger players like Jalen Carter, Reed Blankenship, and Zach Vaughn. It was no bad blood.
Yeah.
Nick M says, do we pray we get Emanwari now? They ain't drafting him. He's going in the first round. They're not using a first-round pick on a safety. Come on, bro.
You think they
trade the Eagles by now? How long have you been a fan? Nick M, they're not using a first-round pick on a safety, dog.
You think they trade out of that pick, 32?
Possibly, unless they really like an edge rusher.
Yeah.
If Walter Nolan falls, I would go and get him, and then I would say you upgraded Milton Williams. I think that kid's going to be a beast.
So you think
I like that dude. Theo says it's cash. CJ was due roster bonus 5-6 million in 25. He got 7 million bag in 24, due 8-5 in 2025.
You
Nice.
think I should get Lane on? Get Lane Kiffin on?
Lane Kiffin? I love Lane Kiffin. He's hilarious. Classic SEC guy.
Well, Lane will tell us about him.
Yeah, he will. Well, you know what else Lane can tell you about? Lane can tell you about Jalen Hurts at the University of Alabama.
That was his OC?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I really believe what CJ said? No.
Lane Kiffin was Jalen Hurts' offensive coordinator at Alabama his freshman year.
Okay, I'll get him on. Lane is constantly
Do you two really believe the story CJ Gardner-Johnson said?
No. No. I do not.
I don't really care about the story, honestly. The story's overrated, Johnny. I care about what we're doing on the team.
That's right. Was that it?
That's it.
All right, dude. Hey. Woo, man. Holy cow. I thought this was going to be one of the, non-drama teams in my entire life.
Nick says, drafted 2 corners last year. Anything's possible. Nah.
Hey, you cover the Eagles, man. You got high drama every day. Every day. But
Sileo and the Philadelphia Eagles are like a match made in heaven.
Oh, my God. But the difference is, unlike the Cowboys, they win.
Who, the Eagles? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, say that one more time.
They have such drama every day.
And what else are they?
But they win.
And what else do they win?
What?
They don't just win.
That's right. Hey, he's back on the victory train.
Wait. Say it.
No.
Why? You said before the Super Bowl, we weren't a champion. We were winners. We weren't champions. No, bitch, we are. All right? 3 appearances in 7 years, 2 rings in 7 years. We get there more than most.
And you don't have the same unit you had a month ago. It's like you're wearing a different set of shoes.
Oh, is all of a sudden every NFL team comes back with all the same guys, or it's a bust?
I'm talking about the champs, Junior. That's what I'm talking about.
The champs are here. The no-holes defense is up on the shelf up there, though. He's not coming off until we get some moves.
Let's see what happens. Hey, you think he's done this week?
Howie? No. Howie's never done. I love covering the Eagles. I finished my show this morning on Birds 365. All right, not to give some people too much info, but I finished my show on Birds 365. You know, it's the morning. I got to go and use the bathroom. I go in and finish. I sit down, and I'm like, holy shit, they traded CJ Gardner-Johnson. Well, I didn't get to do that, and I had to get up, and I did an hour show on CJ. So this team never sleeps, baby. You got to be always on your toes. I went to bed last night. I had one eye open all night, baby, on my phone, refreshing Twitter.
I want to leave this with you before you go here. Yeah, Dan, sorry. Philly Sports doesn't want me doing anything with you on JAKIB because you're our competition now.
You know who Philly Sports is? You haven't identified them. That's that new company.
Get this.
Yeah, they hate us. They hate us.
I appreciate the offer, and believe me, if anything changes, I will let you know. I would love to, but I've been instructed not to come on your show.
Yeah, John Marks is cool.
Yeah, no, I'm like this. Little old Sills.
No, you're not little old Sills. Anybody who says that isn't listening. You know, we had one guy in here, you know that means subscribe. You have no clue. You could go and find the biggest subscribing channel on YouTube, and I guarantee they don't have as many monthly views as Sileo gets. People don't understand our style because most YouTube channels are like 1 video a day, or like they have this, like we're a daily show every single day. So our growth looks different. Our numbers look different, but we have some consistent ass numbers. We got 40 million views on our YouTube channel. So Big Sills is cooking. You know, I was out and about in Philly the other day, and, you know, I had another person stop me and say, oh, we love JAKIB. We love the National Football Show. We love what you do. We love Dan Sileo. So people love you. People listen to you. Whether they love you or they hate you, Sills, they hear you, okay? And by the way, let me tell you something. And you know this, I'm sure. The reason that Angelo comes on your show is not, it may be because he likes you now, but originally the reason Angelo kept coming on your show is because his phone blew up when he got off your show. That's what happened.
blew up.
So he knows coming on here, he has more reach than on his own website. Howard gets more reach here than he gets on his own podcast.
I was shocked Howard came on.
Everybody's listening. Everybody's listening.
I really was. I went like this. Howard, can you come on? He goes, what time are you thinking? I'm like, he goes, I'm working on my thing here. And he wanted to stay on longer. I said, you come on anytime you want. You got an open door.
He's all set up to now. He knows how to do the digital stuff because he's doing it. So
yeah,
the setup was good. It was funny. I don't know what was going on with that mannequin thing he had. What was that thing? Elvis or something?
Yeah, it was Elvis. He's got
it's funny because we were just debating this me and a couple of the people in JAKIB Nation were debating because you see the Eagles players got like a mannequin in their house. And I'm like, that's not my style. Like I wouldn't put a mannequin in my home. I would get like a plaque or frame my jersey up and my gloves or something. Like, I don't know what I would do, but
dude, are you crazy, man?
I wouldn't put a mannequin in my home.
If somebody saw a mannequin in my house, they'd be like, okay, Sileo was just out of some brothel.
Dude, I would punch it. I would walk in and be bang! Yeah. I don't even put no mannequins in my home.
Pastor Pumper will continue to give his daily sermon, and these dudes in the chat can't do anything about it.
Pastor Pumper is iconic, bro. Yo, I gotta use that, Brian. Pastor Pumper. You got to be kidding me.
I got to do some live reads here, man. I got to do some live reads.
All right. Yeah, dude. Are you behind? You better get them because
I am behind. I got a couple to make up here. All right.
So all right, guys. We got some bills to pay in the last 20 minutes of the show. All right.
We do. Yeah, I don't think I've taken a break.
No. Did you go open Balzer? No break after Balzer?
Nope.
Holy shit. 3.5. 332 running strong for Big Sills. I'm telling you. No, I put in, because during your open, I put in, this is a Sileo masterclass. And someone was like, his takes on the roster are not a masterclass. I'm like, dummy. Separate my business from the roster management. Sileo is a master at creating a sports talk show. Whether you like him or you do not like him, that is undeniable. All right? Undeniable.
Zander knows what he's doing now. Holy shit, he's going to be a terror, man, here in a couple years here, man. Keep the good work up, kid. I appreciate it, man. That shit you're doing in the morning. It's funny, Zander asked me something, and I'll tell you guys. He goes, Sills, what shows do you watch during the day? I said, I watch you and John. He goes, no, what national? I go, why would I want to watch people I don't really like? I go, I'm not hearing anything. The only problem that I have is that damn McMullen, man, it's his way or the highway.
Yeah, it is. It is. But listen, just like your shtick is what makes you great, right? Part of that people like because John means what he says and he believes it to the point of if you don't believe it, you're a fucking idiot. And in a way, that inspires people to believe and listen to John. So listen. The one thing I love about media is that everybody has their own pull, but there's things that I don't think people pick up on that make people good. You know, when we first hired John, people were, he's boring. I'm like, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
John isn't Sileo. John isn't trying to be. John is going to be your information guy. John is going to be, I have people email me. They're like, John is soothing. That's what people use. But they listen. He's soothing to listen to. I'm like, yeah, you're right. He brings that mellowed out.
Dude, when I first watched him, I'm like, holy shit. But then I saw the numbers. I'm like, yeah, well, that doesn't matter what I think.
Yeah, I love both you and Johnny Mac. I really do.
I get it. I listen to him, man, and all the work that you guys do and following these trades. Let me go, dude. I appreciate it, dude. I got to do some work.
Love all you guys. Hit that like button.
Please, guys, hit that like button. We're almost at 300. Hey, make sure you check out my friends at Morgan & Morgan. Great time. If you have any issues with anything going on in your lives or you know somebody that's been injured, my friends at Morgan & Morgan have had this agency for over 25 years. John Morgan and his wife, Ultima, have built this agency into being the #1 injury law firm in America with over $20 billion in recoveries for their clients. That's their resume. They're second to none. Nobody in the United States has a better record than what Morgan & Morgan has done for their clients. I told you about the story in PA. $650K a family was initially offered by an insurance company. No way. They went to court. John and his team of thousands of attorneys got $26 million for that family in PA. In Florida, A family was offered $350,000 on a settlement. No way. John and his team went in and got $12 million for that family. If you're ever injured, please check out my friends at Morgan & Morgan. Go to forthepeople.com/Big Sills or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/Big Sills or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sills sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured